Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from RJ, and here's his story. Hi, Ollie. My name is not RJ, but I'd like to introduce myself to the community and remain anonymous for the time being. I'd like to thank everyone for sharing their stories. For the first time in my entire existence, I've had some peace-filled night's sleep, knowing that someone out there understands. I felt alone for a very long time and feel more human, realizing more than ever that there are good, genuine folks out there. Much love. I want out of this world, and I'll begin with these beautiful memories I'm now going to try to share today. Finally, thank you. Thank you, Ollie Matthews, for cultivating this channel, who you've become, and the particular collective stories that have found me in the manner that they have. To me, have been more than a metaphysical experience, to say the least. Again, thank you for all the light, and here is my story, supplemental. Well, you're welcome. I appreciate the nice words. Putting together a coherent story of my life still existing with these narcissists. Actually now only one narcissist and golden child sister. My mother recently passed away. It is difficult right now. Already I'm feeling stupid and dumb, afraid that everyone will judge how terrible I write or my cognitive inabilities, feeling shame. I'm shaking my head. I am 33 years old, and this is what I feel, starting out fresh with something seemingly simple. I don't know where to begin my story. Inside my mind, I've woken up another morning from last night's painful death of racing thoughts of inadequacies and failures, only to experience some new cycle of predictable, not so predictable bullshit by my two married for 50 years narcissistic parents and 40-year golden child sister will triangulate my way, or maybe a solo game will be ran on me. I never know. That paragraph here, I think, sums up, RJ, who you are and the damage done to you. Because you could have just said, I was abused by selfish, narcissistic baby boomers. But that whole long sentence was nothing more than you trying to need to over-validate why you feel the way you do. It's an over-explaining, it's an over-validation. It's one of the main side effects of being abused by these people. It's like you want to over-explain everything. You are over-validate. You're trying to over-validate yourself. I first learned about narcissism at 26, and at the time the word seemed so unfamiliar to me. I didn't know what to do with it. It was just some basic terms I read in definitions, descriptions, and said, okay, they did this to me, okay, they did that to me, etc. It stuck in my mind, the term, dormant, but didn't really begin to sprout up until 3 years later when I finally got back into college and had full intent on finishing my associates in behavioral science. This was a feat considering my atrocious history in school, depending on the perspective. I was either a terrible student who is disruptive, lazy, and unfocused, or perhaps a young man carrying a lot of baggage in school with him and couldn't identify left from right. Looking back at my life now as an adult, I'm like, seriously, what the hell, man? Something is seriously wrong with this world. I want to be mature and just say some of the people in it. As far as I can remember, I've always been a juicy target for children to abuse me in class, poking me, pushing me, swinging me into hard objects, busting my lip open, or if easier, hurling objects at me, chipping a tooth, and I experienced nothing ever getting done about it. Aside from the phone call home to Dad that I was involved in another classroom disruption, that leads to my ass and back. Being whooped with Dad's double-holed belt, a chronic memory which I could never shake. I never say God damn it, but in its literal wording, I really wish shit like this would just be just damn it, stop it. In the second grade, a group of 6 or so children who I shared a section with without a class of 25-ish decided it would be interesting to see what would happen if they told the elementary school teacher that I called her a bitch, and that's exactly what they did. Ooh, yelled the 3 kids next to me. RJ just called you a bitch, Miss Anonymous Teacher, who's probably enjoying her pension today. The room went silent while she confirmed it with the witnesses, and my one no. Oh, am I one? No. I was so used to how this would play out. I knew I was fucked, but what's another whooping and tomorrow's another day. But things changed for me that day, and for some reason, people who hurt me just evolved like I had just went through some birthright ascension. She disappeared from the classroom, which was not usual. You're in trouble, you're in trouble. I felt really vulnerable at my table and couldn't even expand my mind and vision at the other 20 to collect the rest of that embarrassment. When she returned, she pointed her little index finger at me and gestured me to come here. It was a short walk to the single-occupant restroom where she lathered my mouth up with hand soap and scrubbed my mouth out with toilet paper, rinse and spit like I were at the dental office. I chipped out after that, and everyone kept asking me what happened. I just replied nothing. Boy, I was quiet, sitting there with this vacant look on my face, trying to be as still as possible, waiting for 3 p.m. And I remember what that was like in school. You just wanted the day to be over. You want the day to be over just to go, you trade in one hell for the other. But long before that wish could come true, I noticed my father's bald head peering through the small, square pane glass, and I fucking sunk. In the words, what the fuck, or just the acronym was even in my head, I would be repeating it 1,000 miles per hour to myself. But the equivalent pre-programmed response in my brain had a place was sink. But this was like anchor falling with shopping cart-sized chain links grinding down the edge of a ship down into my stomach. My heart sank, my soul sank. I sunk. That teacher looked up, and when she noticed him next, it was enough for the rest of the prepubescent jury next to me to make the connection. The looks on their faces that instant, I remember being the same faces I saw when I was in Atlantic City slot floor and the machine rang off. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. This was confusing again for me. My dad never just popped up like that, same day so fast. He came into the classroom and called me to the front with my own belt gripped my left bicep, and he went on to instruct the class of what would happen when you behaved the way I did, spoke some words of affirmation to me, and beat me in front of the entire class. I wanted to close my eyes, but I didn't want to look weak. I should have. With each lash, I felt my spirit leaving me as I looked out at the crowd. I never forgot what happened next either. the main antagonist or bully. After tucking my head between my folded arms on the desktop, I had my first I don't give a fuck feeling. I don't want to see anyone right now. I want to be left alone. She put her hand on my back and she said, I'm sorry. I shrugged her hand off. I didn't know your father would do that. I don't remember the rest of the second grade after that, but I damn well remember the details of that day too well. The abuse continued and escalated throughout the years, and school was such a pain. Too many years are going by, and I can't find one decent adult my heart feels I could trust. Until one day I finally spoke up following this next bizarre adventure beatings my dad laid on me. And Ollie, this is where I'm really getting. I don't know the word to describe these feelings in the adult portion of my brain. Ignorant and still believes everyone is innocent and good at heart deep down. And thanks to everyone here at this point, I know I am so wordy. There is a lot of shit, and I'll admit I'm being ignorant too. I've always seen the best in people, even though their actions are spelling out clear before my eyes. See, this is where you go into and you know you're doing it because you're saying you're wordy, and you know, and you continue to do it. If you're going to continue, if you can't say, I know I'm being wordy, and then keep going and being wordy. You're acknowledging what the problem is and then keep going on with the problem. Stop explaining yourself. The reason why you trust everybody is because it's easier than having to explain yourself, which you feel you need to do for everyone. That's why. That's why. You don't trust them. You just don't want to have to go through this. You're ignoring the problem by acknowledging it and then doing it anyway. My father beat the shit out of me this night, and normally I wouldn't refer to it like that. But this was another evolution, sheer rage over me coming home 9 p.m. after spending the night at a friend's house without pre-planning it with them first. I was 12, spending the second time in the 6th grade at now an all-white school after my family moved us out of the hood. That's how he got away with beating you in front of the entire class. And I'm sorry to draw a demographic and race now into this, but I'm just filling in the details. He thrashed me that night while my mother and sister, my mother being the general and he the soldier, as I would think it, until for the first time I've seen and felt my own blood come out of it. It poured down my head and into my eye. From the other, I saw him pause for a moment, fixated on my wrist. A friendship bracelet from the only cousin I felt a real kinship with. She made it from the string that were green, gold, and black, the colors that represented 3/4 of my family heritage, Jamaica being 100% of my father's. He tore it off my wrist, and at this point, I was completely naked on the floor. He then disappeared with my blood-covered clothes, and a voice calls my name. RJ, our father's calling you to come downstairs. I dressed myself as not to be naked by my mom and sister passing in the kitchen and enter the bathroom. Ugh, why am I feeling so bad for him, venting my story? Fuck damn it, why won't I stop doing this to myself? I'm tired of the anxiety. I feel like spiders are crawling on different parts of my body all of a sudden, but probably my imagination. I did see a little tiny bug in this New York winter. He instructs me to remove my clothes, which I wasn't doing fast enough. Now covering my private area with my 2 bare hands, he sit on the toilet in front of me and tell me to move my hands. He pushes them further aside and unpalms an unopened condom. He tapped my penis with an upward thrust using his index finger below my head as I watched, feeling, God knows, there must be a word, a step over shame and embarrassment and confusion. At this age, I knew jack shit about sex. Sad to say, my first kiss was in high school. He then asked me, do you know what this is for? In instinct, I looked up to answer the question, and what I saw was a smile. Now, later in life, I realized that smile as a smirk, really. The kind of look I would quickly see as lacking purity and spirit. I just don't know what was running through his mind to this day. His head tilted, his lips tightened, and there was a pause. He threw the condom away. Later that night or the next day, I don't remember, he made mention that he will have that talk about sex with me another day. He put me in the shower that night and scrubbed me like a dirty van. Staring into the mirror that night, I felt somewhat relieved when I saw the blood saturated into my eye whites. I decided I had enough and was going to tell someone. There was a counselor at my school who happened to be a black woman, and she was appointed to me to help me catch up on being held back. I liked her the most, too, of the rest of the busy adults. I explained to her everything and she about wept. She called my dad right away and requested he come to the school to speak with her. I felt my freedom in my heart, and it rang like a bell. I never sat in a chair in school and felt present. The next day, after having spoken with my dad alone, she called me to my office wanting to sit with me. She then began to explain to me that sometimes when you're young, you tend to exaggerate things, and that my father loves me, and that sometimes he has to discipline happens, but they do it to correct you. Thinking back, I sat there like someone was reading a list of charges on me, and I know I'm going away for a long time. I don't remember the days after that event. I went on to being left back in the 6th grade 2 more times. It was then everyone decided I was special needs, and I didn't see the light of day in a mainstream class until I hit my 2nd time in the 10th grade. In high school, I did have moments where I'd go from F's to straight A's, and I'd realize maybe I'm not as dumb as everyone is making me feel when I distance myself from these people still living at home. Growing up in a white neighborhood, predominantly Russian and Jewish, I naturally loved languages. Flunking everything else around me, I focused on learning a second language intently. Everyone looked at me funny for choosing Russian. After 7 days of doing the one thing I loved, I decided to focus on it academically. I learned to read and write Russian in 7 days. A month after that, I had a 3rd grade reading level. Some lights went off. I dropped out of high school from under everyone and got my GED. Passed that too, after applying to the same study methods learned from language to the text. In my first real job, I did well, despite recognizing I was bullied then too for being too nice. They hated it, sale coworkers at the gym. And before I knew it, depression was setting in. I realize now through the study from this community and others, the ways of narcissism knew nothing of. I was hoovered. And triangulation, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the scapegoating, the shift blaming. My family manifested into emotional abusers. I was too big to beat, and I never saw it coming. I just did another 10-year in the world of narcissism. Right back to my initial thoughts, Ollie. LOL. Something is seriously wrong with this world. But I swear on my last breath I'm going to do my part and fix it. Enough is enough. RJ out. If I was all over the place with this story, Ollie and Ranty, thank you a ton, Ollie, for going into what's with your insights. These specific events have been troubling me as I piece together my past. I want out and I want my life back. I'm too intelligent and too unique to let them end me or anyone else. I'm in a constant fight mode and I want to go after them all. It's so horrendous. Thank you all, Ollie, and thank you all for listening. RJ. The fact that you learned Russian in 7 days and were reading at a 3rd grade level in a month is amazing. I mean, it's just another testament is not everybody learns the same way. But what I see out of you, RJ, is the reason why you're so trusting to everybody is because you don't want to have to explain yourself. It's exhausting. So don't explain yourself. You don't need to validate yourself. You don't need to validate yourself to anyone else. You don't. And the way you get your life back is by building your own life. You want revenge on your father who's showing up in your classroom and beating the shit out of you for your fellow students, telling lies on you and getting you beat up. For them having you deemed special needs, then you succeed. Your success is how you defeat the narcissist. Because that's what their ultimate goal, that's what they're trying to prevent you from achieving, is succeeding. Your success is what defeats the narcissist. You can still go about exposing them for who and what they are, but understand what the goal is. And it appears to me you got a lot of talents and you got a lot of ways to be very successful. Successful in ways that would be a direct attack on your particular narcissist, who they are, what they were trying to do, calling you stupid, beating you. You just move on. But you have to stop over validating yourself. Stop. Acknowledging, yeah, this could be wordy, and then continuing. That's ignoring the problem. You can't do that. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for your contribution and your story, RJ. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you guys. Without you, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance. Take care.